This should be played at high volume. This should be played at high volume. This should be played at high volume. Preferably in a residential area.
The following thoughts on Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you. Voted as best local podcast in Tampa Bay by the Creative Loafing. You're listening to Hoppe Hour.
What up? What's happening? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe. And this next guest, when I worked for Rover's Morning Glory, I met him at their hangover event. On the phone line from WSLP, Ethan is on the phone line. What's up, dude?
Hoppe, it's an honor, man.
Oh, come on. Don't say that. I'm just a little minuscule podcast. How's it going, dude?
It's going good. Just enjoying this nice, crispy, cool weather up here in Lake Placid.
What is the weather like up there? Because down here it's hot, but I don't like bragging.
You know, we had a touch of spring over the weekend. It was in the 50s, and it was gorgeous out, but then it dropped back down to the 30s, and it's probably, I don't know, like 45 today and cloudy.
Yeah, it's weird. I grew up in the Midwest, and then I worked in Cleveland for about 2 weeks. And then it was cold all the time. Then you move down here, and it's hot every single day. I don't know if you're a cold weather guy, man, but I don't like it at all.
This is a whole different kind of cold up here.
Is it good or bad cold?
It is a bad cold. Like, we moved up here in summer 2014, so winter 2014 is our first winter up here, and there was probably a stretch for like 2 weeks where the temperature didn't get above zero, and it got as cold as like...
Oh, God, I had that same thing in Cleveland where every day you have to get up a half an hour early to wipe the snow off your cars. The roads aren't plowed. The sun's never out. Oh, my God, man, I feel you on that. Ugh.
Yeah, it was a mess.
I think you can tell I don't like snow. I mean, it's just, there's no reason that you should spend your life having to deal with Mother Nature, dude. Oh, I hate snow, man, you know?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's why you move south. Now, my question for you, Hoppe, do you have to deal with, like, the hurricanes and stuff down there?
It doesn't really hit Central Florida because I'm sort of in Central Florida. Orlando is more Central Florida, but we're basically Central Florida, but we have water. Every day in July, I was delivering pizzas, and I have Sprint, which means you don't have the best phone service. And every day it rained, and it was always raining. And I had the hardest time delivering pizzas on time because it kept rerouting me. So that's kind of what you have here, is you have it rain every single day in Florida in the summer, but then it'll be nice out in the afternoon. So I'll take that, man.
You can't complain about that.
I know. Like, it's very surreal to think that a year ago, I met you at the hangover. Can you remember that moment? It was behind the VIP section. Rover, the whole crew, myself, were eating like a VIP dinner, and you came back there with your girlfriend. And I don't want to say I was drunk, but I was kind of drunk, and I remember you're like, hey, man, I'm Smalls. I'm on WSLP. And I'm like, oh, what's up, dude? How's it going?
Yeah, well, it was pretty cool when I met you, and then it was pretty cool before that when you got the job with down there in Cleveland, because you actually like hit me up on Twitter or something when I was still in Rochester at the Zone, and you were like, "Hey, man, I love Rover and I love the Zone, and I listen to you on the weekends." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, thanks." And I guess I just didn't realize how much of a radio geek you were at the time. And then when I met you at the holiday hangover. The first time I went up to shake your hand, I was like, Hoppe, I'm Smalls. Great to meet you. You, like, touched my shoulder, and you're like, hey, man, not trying to brush you off, but I'll be right back. And then you ran away, and then I found you again, like, when you were eating or something.
I think I remember that. I think I had to go to the bathroom, and I was like, hey, man, I'm not ignoring you, but I got to go. Because I remember the crowd was so annoying. Man, this is bringing back memories. By no means was I a celebrity. By no means was I important. I was a minuscule phone screener that basically just tried to do my thing. But I couldn't walk through that crowd without somebody wanting a selfie, somebody wanting to talk to me and whatnot. I remember I had to go to the bathroom so badly. So I think that was my one chance where I'm like, oh, my God, I could actually go.
Yeah, and then I caught up with you later, and you were downstairs. I think it was when everybody was signing autographs.
Oh, yeah, that was weird, too. They're all signing autographs at the table, and I was the one person that wasn't allowed to sign, so I'm just chilling on the side with Anthony.
Well, because you kept running away. That's the part that I remember. I remember everybody coming up to me. And I remember at this point, I didn't work for the Zone anymore.
Yeah.
People were coming up to me, and they're like, "Hey, man, where's Hoppy?" Like,
who was saying that?
I don't know where Hoppy is. Just like random people, I think from the Zone staff, maybe like a couple people from
here's what happened. Here's what happened. I was very confused because we took different taxis. So I was with Chocolate Charlie, and then I was with Jeffrey. And Chocolate immediately left because he had to go do things. And I'm just there with the Calendar Girls and Jeffrey. And I had the smart idea, even though the event didn't begin, let's go in the basement, Jeffrey. Someone's going to be down there. So some girl from the Zone was like, yeah, that's where they are. And it's at 7 p.m. They don't go down there till like midnight. So we go into the basement, and it's quiet. And I will never forget, my heart sank, dude. I'm in the basement, and they're playing the show's intro, and Rover's doing his thing, and he introduces everyone, and he goes, where's Hoppy and Jeffrey? And I remember I was like, oh, my God. It's like, are you kidding me? I was such an idiot.
That's like the class bell ringing, and you realize you're late for class, and you have to go, like, sign in. Like, I don't know.
It kind of is like that, but it's a little bit worse because then I'm getting chewed out, and I'm just trying to explain. I thought we were in the basement, and they're saying, no, you listen to us, not the promotion staff, which I get. I have no complaints. I'm just saying I was very nervous. You know, I was 21 years old. I felt overwhelmed by the whole thing. Of
course. Big shoes out there.
No pun intended. I actually have big shoes. So what was your time like at 94.1 The Zone? Because I know you ran the board for Rovers Morning Glory. No, you did traffic. Like, how was it at The Zone?
It was, you know, they gave me my start, so it was excellent. I started in 2009. I came in as an intern from St. John Fisher College, and then when I finished my internship and graduated that following May, they hired me on, and I did part-time promotions and stuff like that. And like, I really wanted to get on air, so I, you know, talked to my program director at the time, who was Nick Rivers, and he really kind of made me work really hard for that first air shift. And it was like, I don't even remember how many demos I caught before he was finally like, okay, Sunday morning, 7 to 9 a.m., you're on.
What's that moment like?
Oh, man. Well, it was, I would have to describe it coupled with like the most exciting and like scariest moment in my life at the same time.
I had that same thing when Ballrag called me and said I was hired by Rover. It's just so surreal when you get that first opening and you're like, can I do this? Can I do this? But then once you get to the job, you're like, I think I can do this, you know?
Well, oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, the best part was when Nick told me that I could go live. Like, at first it was like, okay, you're gonna voice track this shift. You're going to fill in on this shift. You know, you're going to voice track here, voice track there. But then when he was like, go live, I'm like, well, all right then, this is the big time. So I really worked the weekends, like swing shift for a while there. And then in like 2011, I took over for Rover for the board op duties in the mornings. And I still did like the weekend air shift and stuff. And then my PD at the time left, and Alicia came in. And Alicia was there doing like weekends and traffic and stuff when I was there. And then she got hired as PD. And then she really just started working with me, and she really helped me out a lot. Helped me out with my demo, helped me out with like resumes and cover letters. And I mean, like I owe her a lot of the reason as to why I'm here in Lake Placid. Like, she was always like listening to my demos, air checking me, telling me what I'm doing right, telling me what I'm doing wrong. And I mean, I owe a lot of credit to her because she really helped me out big time.
What is some of the best advice she gave you, or Nick Rivers gave you, or maybe someone from RMG? What's some of the best advice that comes to your mind?
Oh, man, that's a tough question, Ryan. The best advice, I mean, never settle. that's what a lot of people have told me. And I mean, yeah, I would say Never Settle is probably the best one. You know, if you want it, you just keep making the demos and you keep working on your craft, and eventually it'll happen for you. And I mean, I applied for probably 300 jobs.
Are you kidding me?
Dude, it was insane. And I don't really know how like the radio world goes about like finding their candidates and like making cuts for first, second, third round of interviews and stuff like that. But I mean, there must have been a whole lot of candidates in front of me, because getting a response, again, it was like one of the most exciting things in my life. Even if it was like, yeah, you're probably not going to get hired, but hey, we got your stuff. I remember a time when I first started applying for jobs. I applied for this job way out of my league, and it was like right when I started doing weekends, like before I even started running the board for Rover.
How big was the market?
Well, it was Atlanta, so it was like market 10.
Holy shit!
And it was for like afternoon drive, and it was at like, I think the station was like 99X or something like that.
Yeah. And
I applied, and like 2 days later, I got an email back from the program director. I remember his name because it was such a unique name. His name was Axel, and he's like, "Hey, I got your stuff. I'm going to look it over, and then we'll be in touch." And I'm just like, hell yeah, it's awesome. But then nothing ever came of it, obviously.
For him to even say hi to you had to be surreal and had to give you some sort of swagger.
It was pretty exciting, definitely.
But did you find yourself heartbroken when you wouldn't hear back from these gigs? Because, man, it gets kind of depressing. That's why I'm so happy I'm here in Tampa, is because when I was let go by Rover's Morning Glory, I wondered if I was going to ever work in radio again. And everyone knows that Rob referred me and Mike Olivero hired me and guys like Kelta took me under their wing. But there's just that down period in your life where you go, why am I into this business? I'll never make it. And then you finally get that little foot in the door, you know?
I mean, it's hard to not think that way at least once in a while. But I mean, I definitely count my lucky stars that I had a job like during the whole time I was looking and stuff like that. Even though it was part-time, you know, I was doing like 30, 35 hours a week at the Zone, but it was still part-time. It wasn't the money I wanted, but I was working. I was in the field I wanted to be in, and I was, you know, slowly but surely moving up. And I knew it was only just a matter of time before, you know, the right gig came along. And it happened to be, you know, when I got the call to come up here.
How has everything been at Lake Placid? Because I'm not saying I know a lot of people on radio. A lot of people say that, and I do know a lot of people, but I'm the guy where I keep it low-key. But I do know the guy that you replaced, Paul Varga, who is one of the most sweetest and genuine and real guys I've ever met. I met him at the Morning Show Boot Camp Radio Conference 2 years ago. So did he give you any advice when you took over his role?
Well, it was a really quick turnaround when I got here, because I came up for the interview. After the interview, I went home. Day after that, they offered me the job. And then 2 weeks later, we were moving up here. And 2 weeks after I got here, Paul was moving down to Maryland.
Yeah, like Baltimore.
Because I guess his wife already had a job down there, so they were already like packed and ready to go. So he had, you know, 2 weeks here to basically give me a crash course in everything. And I mean, he showed me the ropes. Yeah, I'm really appreciative for everything that he taught me. But I mean, if I had another chance at that, I would kind of wish that I would have a little bit more time with him, you know, just so I could learn more of, like, I would say like the programming side of things, because that's a big part of what I do here.
I think for programming, by no means do I know anything about it. I'm just in promotions at age 22. But to me, you're in a market where I feel like you can be yourself and be creative. So I would say try to be innovative. You know, that's just how I would see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like the way I pick the music, like I haven't had any official training either, which is kind of scary. You know, I took a very different route to get to where I am. Like I was a part-time board op and swing shift fill-in and did a sports segment on a rock station. And then I find myself in the number one day part, like programming a station and basically like running the thing. So, you know, it was definitely a little bit of a shock at first, But I've been here going on 2 years now, and I think I've developed a pretty good handle on things, and I think I've taken WSLP in a really good direction. And I mean, I feel like we sound really great. I feel like my show has a pretty good flow to it. I feel like the listeners enjoy the music and everything else that runs on the radio station. So, I mean, we do a lot of like community events and stuff, and like we help raise money for the local carousel up here and do a 12-hour marathon broadcast on the carousel.
I remember Paul talking about that. So you sit in the carousel for 2 hours or for 12 hours, right?
Yeah, well, when Paul did it, it was 24, but we just realized that was a little bit crazy, so we cut it back to 12. But yeah, it's a 12-hour broadcast. We're riding the carousel the whole time, and it's, you know, people sponsor different hours, and it's a really great event. We just raise money for the carousel, and it's a really historic thing up here.
I don't know how you do that. I mean, you're a big guy like me. For people that don't know, you're like 6'6" to 6'8", and I'm 6'8". I don't know how you fit in there, and I don't know how you can survive a half a day. When I'm on an airplane for 2 hours, I feel like I'm about to die, bro.
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret here.
Yeah.
They say radio is theater of the mind.
Oh, gotcha.
We can say we're on the carousel.
Ooh, wow.
I've done 2 carousel-a-thon broadcasts, and the first one I rode for probably like 4 hours, and my stomach got so sick, like I thought I was going to vomit in front of these little kids. Like it was a pretty big deal, and I was feeling pretty rough for the whole day. So this year I decided, okay, I'll ride, you know, here and there, but for 12 hours straight, no way.
Yeah, I feel like even though a carousel is not like a ride at Six Flags, we seem to overlook that you're just moving over and over and over again, you know?
Yeah, in a circle.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. So what's some prep that you bring to the show? Because you went from a music area that also had a talk show in the morning. So how do you work on a music-intensive channel?
Well, this goes back to like advice I've had from people, like not just in Rochester, but in the industry in general. People have always told me, get your point across and keep the music moving, because it's about the music, and people like to hear the music that you play. So I don't try to talk too much. It's definitely music intensive. I do like my 4 breaks an hour, maybe 5 breaks an hour. Plus, like, you know, any giveaways or whatever if I have them. But, you know, I talk about the music I play, I talk about events going on, but I try to make it so I can, you know, talk in the songs with, like, you know, long intros and stuff, so I don't have to really stop the music. And I feel like that's kind of where I need to keep things.
Are you a guy that likes to hit the post?
I love hitting the post. It's my favorite.
I suck at it. I go on such long rambles because I did music radio back in my good old radio school. I can't do it, man. I think I'm supposed to be in talk radio. I can't even talk for more than 20 minutes, you know?
When I hit the post of a really long song, like if there's like a 20-something second post and I can hit it because I'm familiar with the song, it just pumps me up so much, especially if it's a really good song I'm talking into. And I'm kind of getting decent at it. I'm not going to toot my own horn and say that I'm good at it.
Yeah, you're no Cousin Brucey yet.
Right, exactly. But I mean, I can do it, and it's just really like kind of motivating, and it pumps me up when I do it. Like, yeah, dude, I just talked into a 27-second song.
It's amazing how Kobe Bryant feels pumped when he shoots 1,000 free throws in a row, or Michael Phelps feels pumped up when he swims 100 laps during practice. But us radio nerds get pumped up when I have it ran for 20 minutes and I spoke my mind, or you hit the post after 27 seconds. It's just funny how we took a different route in life, you know?
Chili Peppers Under the Bridge, 27-second post. I will nail that all day long.
Do you record these breaks beforehand and then pot them up with Adobe Audition, or do you try and do it live?
I definitely try to do it live, because I feel like if you go live, you're going to make yourself better. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I said work on your craft. And I don't know, I feel like voice tracking, you can just rush through it. You can do a 4-hour show with voice tracks in like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and you can hear it. I think, with voice trackers, some people get lazy when they voice track. They kind of blow through it. They don't really put as much effort into it as they should, and that affects them when they do go live.
I don't ever want to critique radio because I'm very small on the totem pole, but I'm not a big fan of voice tracking because it's fake theater of the mind where it makes people think that this so-called radio DJ that's out of Los Angeles is live in Chattanooga or live, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It makes me sad because I just want to make it in this business, and that's like 50 to 75 potential jobs in all these different cities. So that's why you got to keep on grinding.
That's really unfortunate that's happening, and you see it more and more frequently, especially on like the job site. It's like, hey, we need a voice tracker, and top 10 market, but you have to have 5 years of morning experience and 3 years as a program director, and you have to have sales experience too. And if you don't have all that experience, you're not qualified. And you have to have a 4-year college degree too. So,
and you have to be able to move in 2 weeks, and you're like, oh, okay.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. So, it's a little disheartening. To like a young up and comer, like someone who's trying to like get that first full-time job or like that next full-time job. Yeah, it's definitely kind of discouraging to see like voice track only posts or like just part-time openings and stuff like that. That was the problem with Rochester. There really wasn't a lot of like full-time openings. So instead of leaving, I just kind of stayed where I was. And I figured I had the job, and if something opened up, I'd put my name in for it. If there was something in that market, great. I'd get to be close to family and friends. But if there was something in a different market, like up here in Lake Placid, I'm going to go for it. And I was lucky too, because, my girlfriend was really supportive of me and everything. And, we've been together like 4 years, and she was all about moving. So it was it was great that I had that support system too.
Who are some shows that you grew up listening to? Like for me, it's Opie and Anthony, Howard, Adam Carolla's podcast. What are some shows you grew up listening to?
Like talk shows?
Or any type of radio. Who made you want to go into this good old business?
Let's see. Well, I would always listen to Howard Stern on my way into high school. Me and my dad would listen to that.
I've been listening to him a lot because they'll play the old Howard on the weekend, and I listen to him in the morning. Dude, don't you feel like you get better at radio every time you hear him talk?
I think he's just a really incredible interviewer, and I think I try to pick up on some of the stuff that he does in his interviews, and just like having like the whole conversational flow to the interview. I think that's really important, and I think he does that really well. But let's see, the two big shows that I listened to when I was a kid, Opie and Anthony were on at night.
Oh, I love them. They were my heroes.
I was like, I don't know, probably like 12, 13 years old. And I listened to them. And then there was Carlson and Mackenzie. They were on in Rochester. And I remember listening to them, and they would do like their countdown show. And that was a lot of fun to listen to. But the big like talk shows and stuff that I listened to are definitely like O&A, because they got kicked off the radio and then came back like right when I was in college, and I realized like, hey, this is what I want to do. And I was going for my degree and everything. I really started listening to them. And actually, Rover got on the air in Rochester when I was a freshman in college, and I would always listen to their show.
Would you say when you got to run the board for them, that was pretty surreal?
It was pretty cool, but like I wasn't just thrown to the wolves with that. Basically, I was already kind of deemed like the Rover board up backup. So when they needed somebody to fill in or whatever, they would call on me, and I would come in. And I would train on it, and I would learn all the outs and the cues and everything. So when I finally did get that shot, and it was like my job every day, it was like, okay, I'm really happy I get to do this. But surreal, I would say no, because I was lucky enough to like be on like the promotion staff, and like I was the one from the promotion staff that was responsible for like driving them to the strip club or picking their asses up at the hotel or making sure that they weren't late for their show and stuff like that. So I always kind of got to work with them. So it was really fun working with them. And then just, knowing that I'm running their show in a different city. It was definitely cool. Definitely cool.
Now, has the radio passion been knocked out of you since you joined the business? Because when I joined, I was all giddy and happy, and now I'm more motivated and determined. Like, I'm not a fanboy anymore. Like, how do you feel about radio?
Well, I would definitely not say that the passion has been knocked out of me.
I mean by that is, I'm just not giddy about it. Like, I love working here every day at the Bone and whenever they need me. But what I mean is, like, I just see it as a job now. You know what I mean?
I guess I can look at it like I'm keeping my eye on the prize.
Same.
Because oh my God, I remember when I first got on the air and I was making these demos and stuff. It's just silly. I was such like a cock rock, like Godsmack, Metallica, Limp Bizkit, like fanboy, and you put it right. You said fanboy. I was, and I was like a little too excited, like over the top excited. And then
hey, this is Ethan on 94.1 The Zone, right?
It was almost like I would like yell, and people don't want to hear you yell. You know, people want to listen to you. They want to hear the music. You know, they don't really give a damn what you say half the time, anyways. They just want you to play the music. But at first, man, I just needed some direction, and thankfully I got it from, you know, Nick Rivers and Alicia back in Rochester, and they really kind of put me in the right direction. And like, nah, you know what, just take it back a step. So I kind of learned to do that, and now it's more of like, okay, I'll talk to you. I won't yell at you.
What I've been really working on is being myself and making the show a conversation. Like, there was that certain show, the one with Brother Weeze, where I said 70 downloads that a certain show got a lot of kick out of. But my point is, back then, my show wasn't that good. I mean, it won me the award, Best Local Podcast, but I listened back, and isn't it amazing when you hear it and you're just like, ugh, this is what I sounded like? Like, in 6 months, I'm going to listen to this and be like, ugh, this is what I sounded like. It's just amazing how when you keep on doing this and you keep on improving your craft, you really focus on being the best possible, you know?
I feel like you impress yourself when you look back and you're like, you listen to, like, you know, 6 months from now, you'll listen to like that day's podcast, and then you'll listen to this one, and you'll be like, you know, I've developed as a host. Not like, I sounded like crap. It was like, no, I've worked my ass off, and now I'm sounding a lot better. And 6 months from now, you'll be thinking to yourself, I thought I sounded really great 6 months ago.
Yeah, because my approach to the show is I just want to make it a conversation, like as if we're talking at the bar. And when I have people here, they lean back in their chair. I never want to make it intense or you feel like you're going to be exploited. I go with the approach of like Opie and Anthony. You know what I mean? Just talking. Yeah,
I mean, you want to welcome your guests. I feel that way too. I feel like that's a really good way to do it. And I kind of like how, you know, we just kind of shot the breeze on the phone before we started this up, and you know, we just kind of talked a little bit, talked to each other about some things that we've both been through at the same time, talked about our feelings, and just went for it.
Where do you want to see your show in 5 years? Because I've been thinking about it. I think I want to be an executive producer of a show. Obviously, I would love to have Hoppe Hour, maybe have a team around it and have my own show on the radio, or have a podcast that makes me a living, or to be on satellite radio. Obviously, I want to have my radio show or have radio be my one job. So what's your ultimate goal in 5 years?
Well, I'm definitely in it for the long haul, that's for sure. But I would say I want to do more, like, eventually I want to get behind the scenes more. Like, for now, being on the air is great. But, you know, it's kind of tough because we have a very small team at WSLP. So it's kind of tough because a lot of the different tasks fall on, you know, everybody. Whereas if I was, you know, in a market like you are, like Tampa, I would be like, I don't know, a music director, for example, and I'd have an on-air show, and that would be it. I wouldn't have to worry about sales. I wouldn't have to worry about, you know, all the other crazy responsibilities that come with working at the small market radio station. So I would say in 5 years, I definitely want to be in a medium-sized market again, you know, similar to the size of Rochester, if not back in Rochester. I'd love to go back there and work there full-time, of course. I I really enjoy picking the music and doing like the programming. I would say program director might be a little bit of a reach for me just because I haven't really had a lot of formal training. But I think an assistant program director or like a music director, that I could definitely see myself there in 5 years.
Now, for people that don't live in Lake Placid, why should they tune in radio in the morning and type in WSLP and listen to you every morning? What do you bring to the airwaves?
Well, you're going to get a lot of music that you'll hear on a lot of different formats. Like I feel like the definition of alternative music has kind of almost been combined with like top 40, in the last couple of years. And so I'll play a lot of the songs that are on the alternative charts. I'll play a lot of songs that are on the hot AC charts and the adult contemporary charts because I like that mix. Whereas, your regular, hot AC, you're just going to play the hot AC songs. You're not going to hear any of that alternative mix or anything like that. And that's kind of where my roots are. Like I came from an alternative station, and that's how I learned to talk on the radio and do all this other stuff at the station back home at the Zone. So I kind of wanted to bring that with me. But I think we have a really good sound. I think that people who do tune in, they'll be impressed.
And now, before I let you go, where can people find your work online and on the radio?
Yeah, you can find me on 93.3 WSLP. Search it on TuneIn. We also have an app on Android and Apple devices. WSLPFM.com is our website. And you can find me at Ethan Radio on Twitter and also my Facebook page, facebook.com/Ethan on the air.
Well, dude, keep up the good work. I'm not always up in the morning to listen to the radio, but I'll definitely check out your show because you were really cool to me at The Hangover, and I've enjoyed connecting with you on social media and now on Hoppe Hour, man.
Now, I got one question for you, Hoppy. What the hell do I have to do to get a T-shirt?
You'd have to come down here to Tampa Bay and pick up one because I'm actually out of T-shirts and I need to make a little more money where I can have a team that would send them out. So my goal is by the end of 2016 to have Hoppe Hour shirts be bought. But I would say very soon, man. I would say spread the word up in Lake Placid because I'm trying to make Hoppe Hour a thing,
You better tell Cox Media to make it worth your while then.
I'm working on it. I don't want to come off too aggressive because when I first came to town, I was a little bit too aggressive, and I was way too aggressive on Rover's Morning Glory. So now I've been humbled out. So I'm just trying to see where this little podcast will take me.
Well, you're doing your thing, man, and it's quite impressive, and I am quite flattered that you asked me to be on here.
Of course, man. Anytime, dude. You've always been good to me. So keep up the good work, Ethan. And if you ever need me to retweet anything, I'm not too cool for anyone, Ethan. I'm your guy.
Hoppy, I appreciate it, man.
All right. Keep up the good work, dude.
Awesome.
All right. Have a good night, dude. And that was my guy, Ethan, who can be heard every morning on WSLP in Lake Placid, New York. One of the most humble guys in this business. He's in his 20s, and he is a guy to look out for. Now, if you're a fan of 94.1 The Zone and you remember hearing Ethan on the air, or if you're a fan of WSLP and you want to hear more of Hoppe Hour, go to my website, RyanHoppeRadio.com, at RyanHoppeRadio on Twitter. Email me, RyanHoppeRadio@gmail.com. And I have this app, too. Just like how WSLP has an app, I have one too. Go to the Google Play or iPhone shop. Search up Hoppe Radio. You can listen to all 107 interviews I've done since July. You can hear all my rants. We are reaching 100,000 listens and 25,000 downloads, so I appreciate it. This has been Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, saying peace out.
Hoppe Hour. Hoppe Hour.